Okay, so let us start our webinar. So first of all, I would like to once again welcome you all for Data Science Masterclass with Business Choice. So my name is Manikanta Prasad. I'm a lead data scientist at Business Choice. So my expertise is into statistics and machine learning, having 4+ years of experience in this particular domain. So today we'll be going through the masterclass of the data science. So first of all, I just want to know what is your opinion about data science. So when you hear this word data science, what comes to your mind? So whatever you feel, you can put it over a comment so that I'll read out and I'll understand what is your ideology about data science. So can anyone tell me what according to you is data science? What happens exactly there? So anybody? What do you think data science is? Protecting the data, okay. Apart from that, so any other answers, any other thoughts? What is data science? Getting insights from the data, that's very good. So we can get a lot of insights from the data as well. Yes, apart from that, what else do you think data science is all about? Anybody? So we have an answer like protecting data, getting insights from the data. And we have Ashok says solving the business problem using the data. That's pretty brilliant, Ashok. So today, I'll give you a brief of what is basically data science. So basically in this field, as you all know that in a lot of organizations, there'll be a lot of issues regarding to the businesses and the processes which we usually come across. So this data science is a kind of a field which uses data as a fuel in order to solve a lot of such business problems which occur on a daily basis. So it helps to give a lot of precise solutions for a lot of business problems and business challenges which organization faces on a daily basis. So today, I will be taking you all through one such real-time business problem which was faced by one particular company. And we will also virtually experience how a data scientist would actually work in order to solve a particular business problem. So while solving that business problem, we will also go through how a data scientist would get into the data, start understanding the data and digging a lot of insights from the data through which he can solve a lot of business problems. So here, so I have a company called Globex India Private Limited. Well, this particular company has certain business problem which they have defined as. So we will see what is that problem which they are facing, and then we'll start our discussion. So today's case study will go like this. So this Globex is one of the top MNC companies which is facing certain business problem. So we'll see what is that business problem which is faced by them. So I want you to have a clear look on these. So the main strength of this company was their human resource, but the problem which they had was relating to the same. So let us see what was that basically. So this Globex having a main strength as human resource in their organization, they had a very high attrition rate in the company. Now, this was one of the biggest challenge which they had, which they were unable to solve. Now, when we talk about attrition rate, can someone tell me what is attrition rate? What do you mean by an attrition rate? Any idea? Have you come across this term called attrition rate? Anybody? No idea? Okay, no problem. So when you talk about attrition rate, so attrition is something which we call whenever an employee or like group of employees, if at all, if they are leaving the company, so that is called as attrition rate. So in this particular context, the attrition rate in the company was pretty high. That means the employees, they were leaving the company in large amount. And this created a lot of problem for this particular company. So in order to address or in order to understand why employees were actually leaving the company, what is the main problem here? So the HR head came out with certain solution. Now, what was that? The HR head, Ms. Pallavi, asked Tanya, the newly recruited HR analyst, to conduct a small survey to understand what is the main reason for which employees are leaving the company. So through that survey, they got to know that due to lack of incentives and low salary, or low salary hike, this was the major reason which made the employees leave the company. So by this, they got a hint that maybe because of lack of incentives and low salary, the employees could be leaving the company. So when they got this hint regarding why employees are leaving, they conveyed the same to the HR head. So but the HR head totally disagreed for this context. So her point of view was most of the employees were not at all eligible for getting incentives and salary hike because their performance which they were giving, that was not up to the mark, or the performance of the employees were not at all satisfactory. So once the performance is not at all satisfactory, they were not at all eligible for getting good incentives and salary hike. This was the view of the HR head. So this was kind of a discussion which was happening between the HR analyst and the HR head. So continuing the discussion, so this HR head was completely confused as to what is happening, what is the factors which can actually impact the performance, how we can improve the performance so that ultimately we can provide them the incentives and also we can provide a lot of hike in their salary. So in this discussion, what they thought is, they thought about hiring a data science expert or a data scientist. So the main reason for hiring a data science expert or a data scientist is, so the data scientist should understand what is the main reason why employees are leaving the company. So once the data scientist understood the problem, then they also expected that the data scientist should give some suggestions or recommendations in order to overcome the attrition rate problem which is faced by the company. So in this context, so they hired a data scientist, and the expectation from the data scientist were, so the data scientist had to understand what impacts performance. If at all, if there are multiple factors which impacts performance, so the data scientist had to put certain priorities in multiple factors which can impact on performance. And the next thing which they expected is, they wanted this data scientist to predict the employee's performance before even hiring him or before even hiring her. So this was two kind of a problems which were expected to be solved by the data scientist. Now, so I hope you all are clear of the background story of today's case study and why they are hiring a data scientist. Now, let us assume that we are the data scientists who have been hired by this Globex Private Limited. Now, if you are a person who is a data scientist who has to deal with this problem, now let us start with one by one. The first thing which they want you to know is, so like they want you to tell them like what impacts a performance of an employee. Can someone think and tell me what according to you are the important factors which can actually impact on the performance of an employee? What could be the factors according to you could actually affect or impact on the performance of an employee? Anybody? Family issues. Okay, very good. So if in case if any employee is dealing with any sort of family issues, yes, that could really affect him or her performing. Yes. Any other answers? Respect given to them. Very good. If in case as an employee, if you are not getting the respect for what you're dealing with, obviously that would create a problem. Work environment, pretty good. If in case the work environment which you're working in, if in case if that is not satisfactory, or if that work environment is not so good for you to work, then obviously that would affect. Wonderful. Low salary, very good. That is again one major problem. If in case if you are having very low salary, then you will obviously not get motivated to work well. Apart from this, anything else, anybody? Or if at all, if you feel that family issues could be one problem, work environment could be one problem, or like no learnings, very good. That's again one good point. So if at all, if your work becomes stagnant, as there is nothing new which you are going to learn ahead, then again employee feels that he's not going anywhere up in his career. So obviously at that time he may try to leave the company. Very good. So we have another answer, says lot of work pressure. Okay. Even this could lead an employee to leave the company because of huge pressure, if in case if that employee is not able to handle the pressure. Okay. So since I have got a lot of answers, like what could be the reason for employee leaving the company, you guys suggest me what should be the best thing you should do in order to make sure that your employees should leave, stay in the company and work happily and give a best performance. What could be the things as a data scientist, if you just generally think, how could you make your employees be happy or stay happy so that they'll be in your company and also work effectively and efficiently in order to get or in order to give more performance? What do you think can be the suggestion? How can we make an employee work better? Anybody? What are the things which helps an employee in order to make sure like he or she will perform better? Can I get some answers for this? Anybody? Treating them as all are equal. Okay, very good. So giving equal respect for everybody irrespective of their job profiles would actually help. Okay, I would repeat my question once again. Now we are discussing about what is that which impacts on the performance of an employee. So you guys gave me so much of things which could actually impact on performance of an employee. So I was asking, how will you overcome with all these challenges? How will you make sure that by overcoming with all these challenges, how will you make sure that the employee will work effectively? The employee would perform efficiently. So can someone answer this? So one answer I got from Manasa is treating them all in an equal manner. Yes, giving an equal respect for everybody, irrespective of their job profiles, would actually help them to give a good environment or create a good environment. So anything else? What else do you think? Providing them incentives, okay. Maybe providing incentives would actually help, okay. Employee problems should be solved soon, okay, very good. As soon as possible, if you are able to solve a particular employee's problems, so soon they can come out of those problems and they can focus on their work, pretty good. So better HR activities, okay, HR engagements. So if you say HR activities and HR engagements, what sort of HR activities do you think accordingly we should perform for an employee to make sure they perform well? Can you be a little bit specific, Ashok? When you say HR activities or HR engagements, what do you specifically mean? So meanwhile, Jaishree says motivating them to set goals and priorities. Very good. Motivating them will, play a very, very vital role in making sure that they perform well. That's very good aspect. And some of the fun games are for top performers. Okay, you can make them actively participate in certain games or certain other activities, and so that they will perform well. Very good. Now be friendly with everyone. Very good. So being friendly with everyone would also help. 5 days a week would work. That's again pretty good idea. If at all, if you announce that a 5 days of a week can actually help in improving the performance. So that's pretty nice. I'm very happy with your responses, like how you are giving. So let us continue. Let us see how actually, like a data scientist will try to solve this kind of a problem. Though you people have given very good generic answers. Now let us see, like if a particular problem or the same problem is given to the data scientist, how he or she is going to look at that problem and come out with a solution. So in order to deal with this, okay, so what is a very, very important thing which is required is it is all about the data. So in order to start with, dealing with any sort of, understanding, you should be having a data, with you. So let us get into the data and then let us focus on dealing with all these things. So first thing I would like to do is I would like to share, share my screen with a particular data so that let us start our discussion from there. Okay, so this is my data which I'll be using for today. So please do let me know if my data is clearly visible for all. Please do say yes in a comment if my screen is visible. Okay, now, so this is the data, let us say, which is provided by the Globex company for you, because you as a data scientist, you need a data to investigate. You need a data to understand what is happening. So let's say, for example, that this is the data which is being provided by them to you. So your role now starts from this point where you have to deal with this data, understand and analyze this data to come out with the solution. So let us go one by one and let us see how a data scientist will actually start, dealing with this problem in order to come out with a lot of solutions and recommendation. So when it comes to the work of a data scientist, there is always a framework, okay, which a usually data scientist would follow. Now, what is that framework is? In framework, what's the step one which you should be knowing is you should be, clearly understand the problem statement. Okay, so you should be having a clear cut idea regarding what is the problem statement which you are trying to solve. So here there are two problem statements which is defined by our client. So the first problem statement is, the first problem statement is like we have to, you know, tell what impacts performance. So it is like what impacts performance. So if at all, if there are multiple factors, then we have to set priorities. Okay, we have to set priorities. This is the first problem statement. Second problem statement, which our client is expecting us to work on, is to build a predictive model, okay, which predicts performance, okay, of an employee before even hiring. Okay, before even hiring. So these are the two problem statements which we should deal with. So as a data scientist, you should be always crystal clear as to what are you going to work on, what is the task which is being given to you. So I hope you all are clear with the problem statement which we are going to deal with. Everybody, are you all clear with the problem, what we are going to deal with? Yes. Okay, very good. So let us see how we can address. Now, in a framework for dealing any sort of data science related problem, the first step is you should be knowing a clear-cut idea of what is the problem you're going to solve or what are you dealing with. The second step, the step number two is you should be going across something known as data classification. There is something like data classification. Now, what is this data classification? Whenever you are dealing with a data, so any given data which you deal with, they are classified into two. The first one is called as something known as categorical data, and the second one is something known as continuous data. So you should be very clear as to what is categorical data and what is continuous data. So let us understand one by one. So let us deal with the categorical data first. So a categorical data is a data which will be in the form of finite possibilities, which will be having certain finite possibilities in it. So if at all, if you have a categorical data, you can categorize them into specific groups. So whenever you are able to categorize your data into specific groups, such data is called as categorical data. So the example is, let us say we have a data called gender. Now, gender is having some finite amount of categories. We have male, we have female, we have others. So all the males can be grouped as one, all the females can be grouped as one. So whenever in a given data, if at all, if you are able to categorize a data into specific groups, such data is called as categorical data. Another example I would like to give. So let us say blood group. So if you have a data which is having a blood group, so all A positive people can be grouped as one, all B positive people can be grouped as one. So such data is called as a categorical data. So can someone give me an example based on your understanding as to what type of a data can be called as a categorical data? Anybody can give me an example? So I have given you two examples. One is gender, one is blood group. Can someone give me your example based on your thoughts as what sort of data can be called as a categorical data? Anybody? What sort of a data we can call as a categorical data? Can anybody think of any categorical data? Age group, very good. If at all, if your age group is defined into, let's say, from 0 to 5 as one group or 5 to 10 as another group, then that can be considered as a categorical data. Very good. Any other answers? Anybody? What other things can be categorized as a categorical data? Can anybody can think of something? Any other answers for a categorical data? Education, very good. We can say education. So you can say like all the people who have studied till 10th as one group, all the people who have done their undergraduation as one group, all the people who have done their masters as another group. Or if at all, if you have to specify based on their different streams, you can classify all engineers as one group. You can classify all management students as one group. So and so on. So in a data, whenever you come across a data where any given column which has certain data which can be classified into groups, such data is called as categorical data. So I hope all of you are clear with what is categorical data. All of you, please say yes if categorical data is clear for all of you, so that we can move ahead. Or if someone has any question to ask so far, you can ask me. So anybody, any questions, or is this categorical data clear for you all? Okay, very good. So let us move further. Now, what is continuous data? Now, continuous data is a type of a data which has certain infinite possibilities. So basically, the data which are in the form of numerical values. Okay, so the data which is in the form of numerical values with certain infinite possibilities, they can be considered as continuous data. So the example for this, I can call it as height. Now, height can be anything. It can be infinite. Okay, height can be anything. It can be finite. And here another could be weight. So again, weight can be anything. It can be infinite. But again, these are in the form of numerical values. So whenever your data is in the form of numerical values, which could be infinite, they are considered as continuous data. Now, at the stage 2 of our framework, it is very important to understand what are the data classifications. So any data, either it will be considered as a categorical data or it will be considered as a continuous data. So here, first we should understand what type of a data we have. Now, the first type of data here, it is just the names of the employees which is being given, which can be clearly considered similar to your serial number, whereas all the other data which we have, which is in the form of numerical values and which are infinite, which could be infinite, so they can be considered as a continuous data. So why we need to go, understand these categorical and continuous classification is because whenever you deal with a categorical data, the way you do certain analysis on that is totally different. And whenever you deal with a continuous data, the way you deal with the analysis is completely different. So in order to do that, you should be having a clear-cut idea upon what is categorical and what is continuous. So now, once that is done, let us move on to step number 3. So step number 3 is our data analysis. When it comes to data analysis, so since we are dealing with a continuous data, okay, since we are dealing with a continuous data of, in all our data here, so let us see how we can perform a data analysis for our continuous data. So in order to perform a data analysis for a continuous data, we use something known as descriptive statistics. So can someone tell me what is descriptive statistics? Any idea? What do you mean by descriptive statistics? Anybody? Have you heard of this term, descriptive statistics? If yes, then what according to you could be a descriptive statistics? Any idea? Anybody? Have you heard of what is descriptive statistics? Anybody? So any idea what is it? Okay, so let us discuss it. So when you say descriptive statistics, so it is a branch of statistics which will actually help us analyze and provide the description of a continuous data. So whenever you have a continuous data, in order to analyze a continuous data and to understand the description of this continuous data, we use something known as descriptive statistics. So if at all, if descriptive statistics helps to analyze our continuous data, so let us see how our descriptive statistics will actually help in analyzing our continuous data. So first continuous data which I'll take is performance. So let us see with the help of descriptive statistics how we can analyze our performance. So what all under descriptive statistics we can use in order to analyze our performances? First thing is something known as minimum. Okay. Second is something known as quartile one, and third is something known as mean, and next is something known as median, and then quartile three, and then we use maximum. Now, all these components are part of our descriptive statistics, which helps us to analyze our performance, which is a continuous data. So we'll see how we can do that. So I would like to calculate all of these values of our performance, and then I would like to give you the interpretation of how to analyze this. So for this, I'll calculate using a formula for minimum value of my performance. So I'll select my entire column. So out of this entire data which I have, so out of this entire data which I have here, so now once again, I'll try to calculate my minimum. Out of this, all the employees who are there, the minimum performance which is provided by any given employee is around 62. So what is the total number of employees we have? The total number of employees we have is around 60. Out of these 60 employees, there is one employee who has, given the minimum performance as possible is around 62. And similarly, if I want to check what is the maximum performance which is given by any given employee, so I'll go to performance. Now I have calculated using maximum formula. So the maximum performance which could be provided by any employee in this list is around 99. So now with the help of descriptive statistics, I am able to understand what is the minimum performance of my employee and what is the maximum performance which could be provided by my employee. Similarly, let us understand what is my quartile. Now, coming to quartile. So, quartile is a statistical tool which is used in order to separate your entire data into 4 quarters. So when I say 4 quarters, so it will divide your entire data into 25% each. So the first 25%, that is from zero or from minimum to first 25%, we call it as quartile one. So let us calculate what is that first 25% of your performance level. So I'll say equal to quartile. Now here I'll calculate quartile. So I'll select an array followed by, I need to give an input as to which quartile am I selecting or finding. So I'm finding this first quartile. So I'll select first quartile, and this is my 25th percent from this entire data. So if this is considered, if my minimum is considered as 0% and my maximum is considered as 100%, the 25th percentile of this particular data will be 72. Similarly, so the next thing is, if this is my 25th percentile, what will be the 50th percentile? So the 50th percentile will be median here. So I'll calculate equal to median. That is nothing but the center of my data, that is middlemost position in my entire data. So it will be around 79. So if this is my 50th percentile, my quartile 3 will give me an idea of 75th percent of the overall data. So I'll calculate my 75th percentile with this entire data followed by the 75th percentile. So I get this particular information. So by this here it starts with 0%. So here quartile one, it gives me an idea of 25th percent of my data. Here it gives me an idea of 50th percent of my data. This gives me an idea of 75th percent, and this is my 100%. So this is how you can divide your entire data into four different quartiles, so four different parts with the help of quartiles. Now, what is quartile specifically? I am not going in depth into the concept of quartiles, is because this particular webinar, as of now, I don't have a scope to go in detail to teach you what is a concept of quartile. But still, I recommend you to go through those lot of statistical concepts to understand what is quartile. So it is very simple and an easy concept of quartile, which I would like you all to go and read it on your own, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Since it is the time is limited, I cannot go in depth into those concepts. So I'm just limiting for only the data analysis as of now today. So once we have calculated, this gives us an idea of in what is the total percentage of the data, if at all, if I use this entire calculation from minimum to maximum. And finally, I need to calculate a mean. Now, what does this mean basically? So can someone tell me, according to you, what do you mean by a mean or an average? Can someone tell me what is a mean or an average? What is your understanding upon a mean or an average? What does it do? Can someone tell me what is a mean or what is an average? Any idea as to what is a mean or what is an average? Have you come across this terminology called mean or an average? Okay, so anybody, any idea? Adding all numbers and dividing it by the total. Okay, but what does it do? What is the main purpose of using that mean or an average? What is the main purpose there? Anybody? So what is the main purpose of using that? If at all, if I add all numbers and divide by the total number, so what is the main use of doing it? So the basic use of using my mean is, so mean is one single number which represents your entire data. So mean provides me one single number, and that single number will represent my entire data. So let me show you how to calculate my mean. So I'll say equal to average followed by the entire column of my performance. So I got one number which represents my entire data. So if this is my descriptive statistics, okay, these are my components of descriptive statistics. Now I'll tell you how to give an interpretation for this. How to give an interpretation is, now out of total 60 employees data which is being provided by the company. So when we are analyzing a performance, there is an employee who has given a minimum performance of around 62, and there is one employee who has given a maximum performance of 99. Whereas on an average, any given employee in this company, their performance is somewhere closer to 78. So this is how you can give the interpretation. So I repeat once again, out of the total 60 employees data which we have, there is one employee whose performance is as minimum as 62, and there is one employee whose performance is maximum towards an extent of 99. But on an average, when you take any given employee, their performance will be somewhere closer to the mean, that is 78. So this is how you can read a continuous data with the help of descriptive statistics. So this is how descriptive statistics helps you to understand and analyze a continuous data. For any sort of continuous data, you just have to go through these steps in order to understand what is there in the data. So we could clearly understand what is the minimum in that data, what is the maximum, what is your mean, which represents the entire data. Also, if you want to understand what is it, 25% of your data, 50% of your data, and 75% of the data, that can also be understood with the help of descriptive statistics. So why I'm not able to go completely in depth into multiple concepts here is because lack of the time which is available. So I'm giving you a gist so that you can further go and do the research so that you can understand a lot of things better on your own. So in the same way, for any given continuous data, you can do the analysis using descriptive statistics. So for your information or for your ideology, I'll take IQ as well, and I'll show you how to perform an analysis of descriptive statistics for IQ. So I'll take the same thing here. So now I can say that, out of 60 employees we have, there is an employee whose minimum IQ is 73, and there is an employee whose maximum IQ is up to around 145. But on an average, any given employee, their IQ is somewhere closer to 107. This is how I can interpret a continuous data. So whenever you have a continuous data, this is what you are supposed to do. Or as a data scientist, this is what we will be doing. So is this descriptive statistics which helps in analyzing the continuous data clear for all? Anybody has any question in understanding a descriptive statistics? Please ask me. Or do you want me to repeat any of the interpretations? Please do ask me. So I'll give you 10 seconds. So please have a look at our interpretation or the calculation part which we did. If you have any questions, please do ask me so that I'll give you a clarity on that. So if at all, if whatever we have discussed so far, if it is good for you, please do say yes as a comment so that I can proceed to the next, if this is clear for you all. Okay. So I see a yes from Punyamurthy. Yes. What about others? So are we clear so far? Analysis for a continuous data. Very good. So let us move further. So in the step 3 of your data analysis, so we use a descriptive statistics in order to analyze a continuous data. So probably I expected a question that if you have a categorical data, how do we do the data analysis? Because descriptive statistics is used purely to understand your continuous data. But what if I have a data which is of categorical? So how do we analyze a categorical data? So in order to analyze a categorical data, we use something like pivot tables, or we also call it as frequency tables, which is used in order to understand the frequency of each and every attribute in a categorical data. So let's say, for example, if we have gender as male and female, how many males are there in the data? How many females are there in the data? In order to understand that, we call it as a frequency tables, which can be used or which can also be called as a pivot table in Excel in order to do that analysis. So you should be aware that whenever you deal with a categorical data, you use frequency table or pivot table to analyze it. Whereas whenever you come across a continuous data, you use descriptive statistics. So since we don't have any categorical data here, we are not going through the pivot tables here. So directly we have come to descriptive statistics. So once you do this descriptive statistics analysis in the stage 3, then we will enter into step number 4, where we will understand something known as relationship study. Now, what is this relationship study? Can someone tell me, based on your idea, in order to understand a relation, which statistical tool is used or which statistical method is used in order to understand the relation? Any idea? Anybody? Which statistical tool or method we use in statistics specifically in order to study the relationship? Anybody? Any idea? Regression? No, we don't use a regression for understanding the relation. So probably you would have heard of something known as, correlation. Have you heard of correlation? Anybody? Can someone tell me what do you mean by correlation? Any idea what is correlation? Has anybody come across correlation? See, when you talk about correlation, correlation is nothing but relationship between two variables. So relationship between two variables is called as correlation. Now, what are those two variables? One variable can be independent and another variable can be dependent. So whenever you try to identify the relationship between an independent and dependent variable, that can be called as a correlation. So here, an independent variable could be something which is totally independent of anything, whereas dependent variable could be something which is actually dependent on your independent variables. So you will have to understand which is an independent variable here, which is a dependent variable here in the data or in the given data. And based on that, you have to find the relation between them. In order to find the relation, we use something known as correlation. So here, in order to understand which is independent and which is dependent, can someone tell me which could be an independent variable among these four and which could be a dependent variable? So if I go with one by one, can someone tell me what type of a variable is performance? Is it an independent variable or is it a dependent variable according to you? Does our performance, is it an independent variable or is it a dependent variable on something else which is provided here? Independent variable, okay. Anybody else? What else do you think? Is it a dependent variable or independent variable? Now, in order to, like perform, now, don't you think a particular person should be having a good IQ knowledge, or it should be, he should be at least having a minimum IQ knowledge? And at least he should be little bit motivated in order to perform well. And if in case, if he is getting certain amount of salary, only then he'll be able to perform to a certain extent. Yes or no? Anybody? So in that particular context, if you think, so your performance will always act as a dependent variable, which is dependent on IQ, motivation, and annual salary. So if at all, if you have certain amount, at least certain amount of IQ, that will help you in performing. So at least if you are, motivated to certain level, then that will lead to certain performance. And if you tell, if you are given certain amount of salary in terms of monetary aspects, only then you will give certain performance there. If at all, if someone asks you to work freely, obviously no one will show interest in working there. But if in case if someone tries to tell that you, if you do this particular work, this is what is the salary which is being given to you, then based on that, people or an individual would show certain interest in working. So here we have performance which can always be indicated as a dependent variable, which is dependent on IQ, motivation, and annual salary. So here, when it comes to correlation, I said we need one independent and one dependent variable in order to check the relation. Now, coming to correlation and checking the relation, there are three types of correlations which can be identified. Now, what are the three types of correlations? So I can say types of correlation. So the first type of correlation is something known as positive correlation. Second type is something known as negative correlation. And the third type is called as no correlation. Now, any idea, anybody, what is positive correlation? Any idea? Anybody? Have you come across any of this? So if it is yes, please do comment it as yes. If you have no idea, please do comment it as no, so that I'll understand whether you are aware of it or not, so that accordingly I can continue my discussion. Okay. If you are not knowing it, it's okay. I am here to teach you. So need not to worry. So it is a new concept which we will learn together. Okay. So now let us talk about the correlation, the types of correlation. So I hope the correlation is clear for you all. Correlation is all about the relationship between two variables. One variable will be independent and another will be dependent. Now let's say, for example, we have two variables, A and B. Now, when do you say that there is a positive correlation among them? Now, whenever if one variable is moving in one particular direction, automatically the other variable will also move in the same direction. That is, whenever two variables are moving in the same direction, that is called as positive correlation. That is, if one increases, automatically other will also increase. If one decreases, automatically other will also decrease. That is, whenever two variables are moving in same direction, we call it as a positive correlation. Now, the business example for this. What will happen to the, let us say, sale of tea and coffee? Or let us say, for example, what will happen if at all, if the, or let me put it like this, what will happen to the sale of tea and coffee if at all, if the temperature, decreases? Or let me put it like this. Let's say, for example, what will happen to the sale of air coolers if at all, if the temperature increases? Can someone tell me? If the temperature increases, what will happen to the sale of AC or air coolers? So here one variable is temperature, which is going up. Another variable is sale of air coolers, which is going up. So if one goes up, automatically other is also going up. So you can see that there is a positive correlation there. Similarly, again, what will happen to the sale of ice creams? If at all, if the temperature increases, again it will increase. So if again one variable is going up, automatically other variable will go up. So whenever both the variables are moving in the same direction, we call it as positive correlation. So that is whenever both the variables are moving in the same direction. Now coming to negative correlation. Now what will happen in negative correlation is, if at all, if one variable is moving up, the other variable will automatically come down. So that is, whenever two variables are moving in the opposite direction, at that time we call it as a negative correlation. If one is going up, other will come down. So here we have a opposite direction. Whenever the two variables are moving in the opposite direction, we call it as a negative correlation. So here, what will happen to the sale of tea and coffee if the temperature increases? Anybody? What will happen to the sale of tea and coffee if at all, if the temperature increases? Any idea? Anybody? It will obviously decrease. Why? Because when you have too much of high temperature, hardly people will show interest in consuming tea and coffee. So here what is happening, as and when the temperature is going up, the sale of tea and coffee is coming down. So whenever two variables are moving in the opposite direction, we call it as negative correlation. Whereas coming to the last one, that is no correlation. So what is no correlation basically? So whenever if one variable is moving in certain direction, whenever if one variable is moving in certain direction, that will not impact on the movement of other variable. That is, the other variable will not make any movement. It will not even go up, it will not even come down. So in this case, we call it as a no correlation. So for this, the business example is there any change in the sale of rice? If at all, if there is a temperature increase, anybody? Do you think the increase in temperature will affect the sale of rice or people consuming rice? Yes or no? Anybody? Is there an impact? So here, since there is no impact, we can consider them as a no correlation. That is, if at all, if one variable is increasing, that will not at all lead in the change of or in the change in the movement of other variables. So here you can say no movement. If at all, if one is increasing, other will not increase. So, or decrease. So this is called as no correlation. So these are the three types of correlations which we can identify with respect to correlation. So when we are trying to identify the relationship between two variables, we will understand whether there is a positive correlation, whether there is a negative correlation, or whether there is a no correlation. So is this correlation concept clear for all? Or do you have any questions so far? Please do comment it as yes, if at all, if this concept of correlation clear for you all. Or if you want me to repeat any of the type of correlation, please do ask me. So if it is clear, we will move further for the next concept. Okay. So now since we have understood the correlation concept and the types of correlation inside the correlation concept, now let us try to implement the same thing upon our independent and dependent variables to understand what type of correlation do they have. So in order to calculate a correlation, first, as I said, we need two variables. One is independent and one is dependent. So I will take my independent variables as IQ and I'll just take my dependent variable as performance. Now I will check between my IQ and performance, what type of a correlation these two are having, whether do they have positive correlation, whether do they have negative correlation or no correlation. So how do I calculate it? So I'll say equal to correl. This is my formula of correlation. Now, once I use this, it is asking of me for two things. One is array1 and array2. Array1 refers to first variable, array2 refers to second variable. So here, I'll go here, I'll select my first variable, that is IQ, comma. Now it is asking for a second variable, I'll select my second variable. So it gives me a correlation of somewhere around 47%. Now, how to understand whether this is positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation is, if at all, if it is a positive correlation, the value will be in positive. If at all, if it is negative correlation, the values will be indicated in negative, and if it is no correlation, the value will be zero. So here, since our value is in positive, we can clearly get an identity that there is a positive correlation between IQ and performance. So what could be the understanding here? It says that if at all, if the IQ increases, the performance can also be increased, or the performance will also automatically increase. Now, how we are trying to say this? Based on the positive correlation which we can observe here. What positive correlation tells us? If one increases, other will also increase automatically. So here, if you increase the IQ of an employee, that will automatically lead to improvement in their performance. So if at all, if you improve the IQ level of your employee by providing certain amount of training, there is 47% chance that their performance can also increase. So this is what your correlation tells you. So whenever you provide certain amount of training by which if your employees are able to increase their IQ, there is 47% chances that that could result in improvement of their performance as well. So is this clear, all of you? Is this like how the application of a correlation, how it helps to draw certain conclusion? Are we clear so far, all of you? So it is a positive correlation. Positive correlation is clearly stating that if at all, if there is an increase in IQ, so there is a 47% chance that even the performance can also improve. So this is how correlation helps you to draw a lot of conclusion. So here, but what happens? Here I have two more variables. I have to take motivation followed by performance. I have to check whether there is a positive correlation or negative correlation. Again, I have to come to annual salary. I have to check whether there is a positive correlation, negative correlation. What is the type of relation between them? Whereas if at all, if you go on doing it manually like this, that will take a lot of your time. As of now, the data is very, very small, so I can calculate it 3 times so that I'll be able to understand it quickly. What if the data set is so huge that you have 20 variables where you have to calculate correlation manually for all? At that time, it is not possible to sit and calculate each and everything one by one like this. So how do we do in that, or what do we do in that process? We have a correlation function through which we can calculate correlation for all the variables at once. So how to do that is, I'll go to my data tab and I'll go to this data analysis. And this is where you can see that I have a function called correlation. So I'll go to this correlation and it is asking me to give certain input here. So I'll select all the inputs here, right from performance, IQ, motivation, annual salary. I'll select the entire data. And since I have selected the labels in the first row, I have enabled labels as well. Now I'll say OK for this so that I get a small table like this. Now, what is this table? This table is called as correlation matrix, which gives me the correlation for all the variables. Whereas, how do I understand this table is very important. Now, how do I read this table? So you should compare your dependent variable with your independent variable. So here, when I compare performance with performance, there is 100% correlation. When I compare performance with IQ, there is just 47% correlation. The same thing which I calculated manually. Similarly, when I compare performance with motivation, there is 63% correlation. Whereas performance with annual salary, I can see that there is just 40% correlation between them. So this is how automatically you can calculate correlation for all the variables at one shot. So now with this, if you can see, can someone answer me by looking at this particular table? Can we decide what actually impacts performance? What is that factor which impacts performance? In order to improve the performance, which particular factor among these three do you think is important? Can someone answer? Among all the three independent variables which we have, which independent variable do you think is very important in order to improve the performance of an employee? Can someone answer by looking at these three correlations? Yes, it is motivation. Why? Because the correlation between motivation and performance is comparatively high compared to IQ and annual salary. So it says that since there is a positive correlation between motivation and performance, so it says that if at all, if you keep on increasing, or if at all, if you keep on motivating your employees more and more, there is around 63% chance that their performance can improve. So this is how you can give a conclusion. That is what, so this gives us an idea, or this gives us an answer for our first problem statement. The first problem statement is what impacts performance. If at all, if there are multiple factors, then we have to set a priority. Now, how do we answer this question for our client? So the first factor which impacts performance is our motivation. Now, why? Because it has around 63% correlation, which is highest among all. Whereas if at all, if we have to set priority on a priority list, the first important factor is motivation. Second important factor is around like our IQ, and the least important factor is our annual salary. This is how we can try to understand or solve a particular business problem with the help of a data along with statistical approach. So we have used a simple correlation method with the help of our statistics, which is helping us to understand or draw the conclusion about the relationship between variables. So here we have understood that motivation is having the highest correlation, because of which we can conclude that motivation is one factor which can actually help in improving the performance of an employee. So you as a data scientist, your suggestion would be that motivate your employees as much as possible. So the more you motivate, the better they would perform. So this is how, as a data scientist, you should be providing your analysis to the client. So by taking these suggestions, your client will try to implement the same, and they'll try to work based on motivating more of their employees so that they can see the result in their performance. So this is how we can solve the first question of our client, that is in order to tell them what impacts performance. Is this clear for all of you? Anybody has any question in this first analysis, please ask me. Or do you want me to, if you want me to repeat any of the analysis here, how did we get to a conclusion as to motivation is the one factor or the best factor among all? If you have any questions there, please ask me. So any questions, anybody so far? So is this clear so far? Please do comment as yes if it is clear. Or if you want me to repeat something, please do comment it. Or if you have any question, feel free to comment it so that I would like to answer your question. Any questions so far? Anybody upon our discussion? Okay. So I believe that what we are discussing so far regarding the correlation concept and application of that into solving real-time business problem is clear. So if this is clear, now in our next context, okay, there is something which you can observe, which is a negative correlation. Okay, can someone observe this negative correlation? So by observing this negative correlation and by connecting the same with the concept of our negative correlation, can someone tell me what is this negative correlation talking about annual salary and IQ? Any idea what is this negative correlation talking about between annual salary and IQ? Connecting with the negative correlation concept, if someone can think about it. Any idea? Okay, so I'll tell you. See, we know that negative correlation is something where if both the variables are moving in opposite direction. So here, how we can connect IQ with your annual salary for negative correlation is, we can say that though the company is having high IQ'd employees, though the company is having highly intellectual people, maybe the company is failing to pay them the salary as per their standards, because of which if the IQ is high but the salary could be very low, because of which maybe the employees could be leaving the company. This is how you can actually conclude here. So here you can consider one variable as IQ, which could be high, and another variable as annual salary, which could be low. So since both the variables are going in opposite direction, you can conclude that though the employees in your company could be very good in terms of their knowledge or very good in terms of their intellectual knowledge, your company, maybe if it is failing to provide them the salary as per their standard, because of which they might be leaving the company. So this is one sort of hidden pattern which you can find in the data. So if you have understood this as a data scientist, what you are going to do is you are going to give a solution for this. So what is the solution? So I can write solution number two, because solution number one is like you motivate more so that the performance will be higher. So the solution number two is, so it is like the main reason for employee leaving the company is because of lack of salary for those high IQ people. So that is the main reason is the lack of salary, or since the company is providing very low salary for the highly IQ people, so this is the reason why they are leaving the company. So if this is the case, what could be the suggestion which you can give us? You can say that revise the salaries of those high IQ people so that they would they would stay back in the company. So this will be the solution which you can give for the company in order to make sure that they will save a lot of their highly IQ people. So the solution number one is motivate as much as possible to make sure your employees perform well. Now, how did we understood this? With the help of the correlation, which has highest correlation between motivation and performance. So since there is a 63% of correlation, so we are giving the first solution here. And the second solution is, since there is a negative correlation. So the main reason for employees quitting your company is because of low salary which could be paid for the highly IQ'd people. So your suggestion here is make sure that you identify such highly IQ people and revise their salaries so that they'll get satisfied, and based on that you can save them from leaving the company. So this will be the second strategy which you can give. So is this clear so far, all of you? Any questions, anybody so far? So are we clear with the discussion so far, all of you? Yes. So now let us move on. So now we have discussed with our first problem statement, that is what impacts performance and setting certain priorities for that, and also giving certain solutions based on our analysis on the data. Now coming to the next problem statement, it is about building a predictive model. So they want us to build a predictive model which can predict the performance of an employee before even hiring him or her. Now, in order to do this, okay, now what I'll be doing here is like the second problem statement we will be solving in our next sequel of our webinar. Because in order to build a predictive model, there is a strong concept of regression, which I want you people to go through in order to understand how we can build a predictive model. So I would recommend you to attend our next webinar as well, so that in a continuation of this webinar, we will be going through building a predictive model, and we will be looking forward for a lot of things. Not only we will be building a predictive model, but we will also be understanding regression, a very strong concept in terms of your predictive model well. And along with that, we will also be doing certain analysis as to, in order to hire a particular employee, what should be the expected IQ which should be there with him, or what should be the expected motivation level which he should be having, and what is the performance which is required in order to provide him certain amount of salary. So we can analyze all that in depth in our upcoming webinar. So there we will be discussing going into the actual predictive modeling for the same data, and we will be continuing our case study. Now, why I was unable to complete our complete case study here today is because of the time constraint. So in our next series of our webinar, so we will be continuing from this, and we'll be going ahead and building a lot of predictive models which can solve the second problem statement of this particular client. So probably by now you would have got a idea as to how a problem statements in the data science industries come out, and how basically data scientists will try to solve those using the data, how the approach of a data would be. So I have a question like, when is the next webinar? So next webinar, the information will be soon provided to you over your mail. So accordingly, you can register for those webinar. And in that webinar, we'll be having a continuation of our analysis, so that we'll go ahead there and we will be building a lot of predictive models. Okay, so I would recommend all of you to be participative in that webinar as well, because there you will be getting to learn too many things in actual predictive modeling of data science. So any other questions, anybody, as far as today's webinar? So if you have something, you can ask me. So any questions, anybody? So in order to sum up, so we took up a case where we understood how a data science problem can be solved with the help of a data. And we also saw some of the frameworks as to how data science problems can be solved with the help of the data and statistical methods. So with that, in the same continuation, in our next series of webinar, we will be going through building a predictive model. So any questions, anybody so far with today's webinar? So if you have any questions to ask relating to this or today's discussion, please do ask me. Okay, so I believe whatever we have discussed so far is clear for you all. So in that context, so let us all meet back on our next webinar in a continuation of whatever we will be going through. And soon you can find the same recording of our current webinar on our website, so that you can take a reference of our discussion prior to our next webinar, so that you can be aware of what discussions we have made, so that you can connect with our discussions for our next webinar as well. So having said this, so any other questions, anybody? Anything you would like to ask relating to data science, relating to our uh, particular webinar context? Anything, if you have, you can ask me. Okay, so anything, any other suggestions anybody would like to give for our next webinar? If at all, if you feel like, okay, if we can implement something else also, it would be better. Any as such suggestion? So one small thing which I would like to make it clear is, because of the time constraint, I was unable to go in depth into the concept, but still certain concepts like quartiles, all those are very small concepts and very simple concepts which you can easily understand once you explore and do a small research on that. So I recommend, please do it. And for our next webinar, we will be going through a very strong concept of regression. So I strongly recommend you guys go through that and come to our next webinar, so that we will learn the actual predictive modeling, how a predictive modeling will be built, which can solve a lot of problems. So this is it for today's webinar. So I would like to thank you all for joining us and being so interactive. So I believe there is certain takeaway from today's session. So you would have got certain amount of knowledge upon data analysis and how data science industries actually do an approach for the data science based problem statements to handle it. So thank you so much, all of you. So wish to see you all in our next session. So that will be updated to you over a mail regarding our next schedule of our webinar. So see you all there. So thank you so much. Take care, all of you. Thank you very much.